Anyway, thanks for and her panelists are going to be Jeffrey Cox, who you've seen with LA County Health Mental Health Department, and Catherine Peoples, I think, is not here. Catherine, are you here? Okay, so we're going to have a substitute to talk about the economics of recovery. And then Christine Lenches-Hinkel will talk a little bit about more. So what we think you can take away from here is 3 steps. If you haven't started the testing and remediation problem, here's what you need to do. 1, 2, 3. Same thing with mental health. If you feel like you're challenged in that area, like I was, please seek assistance. And we have Jeffrey here, who's the subject matter expert. And then, come on over here. Gilda, right? Gilda is with Climate Facts, and she's Gilda Brasch, and she's going to help us understand the steps that we can take to make sure that we're economically healthy through the process. Okay, so Nicole, you want to come on up? Thanks.
Well, thank you everyone for sticking around. We have a great panel planned for you. This is really a panel about, taking action. What do we need to do around mental health, finances, and the actual addressing our soil health through bioremediation? This can be super overwhelming, right? For many fire survivors that have been through all this, it can be super paralyzing to have so many things to think about. This session really is about how do we kind of get that anchor of safety and peace of mind? Where do we start, right? What are our choices? Where do we go from here, given this high stress, sort of cognitive burden, overload, context? So year 2, we're taking action, right? So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Jeffrey, who's going to share a little bit more about himself, and would love to know a bit about steps to navigate overwhelm, depression, the fire-related stressors, and really that big picture toll on survivors. So if you could speak a little bit to that, that would be wonderful.
Yes, absolutely. Just to give you a little background, so my degree is in social work, so I'm a licensed clinical social worker. I've been practicing for about 30 years now, mostly on the East Coast. I've worked with primarily at-risk teens, but I do individual work, working with families, couples, running groups. And as I went further into my career, I recognized and got a little disappointed that it just felt like talk therapy wasn't really helping a lot of the families I was working with and seeing young people. There wasn't a connection there. I started moving into DBT work, which was dialectical behavioral therapy by Marsha Linehan, who created an approach that kind of verified and it was empirically based research to say, here are the techniques and the interventions that work. So I did a lot of work around that. And that also introduced me to this idea of doing somatic work or bringing in understanding that you have to heal the body and not just the mind, where you have to have a meditative practice when you're doing DBT, and the clients do it, practitioners as well. Psychosomatic, yeah. Well, psychosomatic is what comes up exactly. Yeah, the connection. But the neuroscience now that we have today is making it a lot easier for us to understand how we can really support and help. And we were just talking about this in the corner. But what we're understanding and what we know is with any type of a disaster, immediately what happens. And if I gave you a quick neuroscience of
my job is twofold.
In any type of disaster-related incident, anything that's a shock to the system, just very simply what's happening in the body and the brain is that when things are fine, you're in rest digest state, your parasympathetic nervous system is operating. When a crisis comes up, you go into your parasympathetic state. And you go into sympathetic state. The parasympathetic state, your prefrontal cortex is online. You're working bilaterally with both hemispheres of your brain. Everything's good. This is your compassion, empathy. Everything comes from here. Things are good. You're working within your window of tolerance. Then when a crisis happens, this goes offline. Your brain is not working bilaterally as much anymore, and then it's pretty much fragmented, and then you go into what we call coping or trauma response, depending on how severe it is. If it's a trauma response or coping, it's fight, flight, freeze, appease. So fight, You're going to fight your way out of this danger, and this is 10 million years old in our evolution. It helps us get away from a dinosaur if it was going to come up and grab us. Freeze is dissociating, so we block out and forget the trauma. We don't want to think about anything. And then appease, people pleasing. We put other people's need before our own, and then we neglect or stop taking care of ourselves. The other thing on the somatic level is that then the body starts shutting down, where now you're going to have a hypervigilance or be hyper aroused. You're not sleeping. You're not eating necessarily right. You're having reoccurring thoughts, preoccupation, nightmares. You become hypervigilant, or you get into the dissociative state where you freeze and then you're not getting out of bed. You're not able to do anything. You can't complete tasks. You take care of everyone else and can't take care of yourself. And these are okay because when it's adaptive and coping, that's fine. It becomes a problem when it becomes maladaptive. And when it's maladaptive, it means that it's interfering with your daily functioning. So a lot of the clients that are coming into me now, the thing that's happening is they're feeling this at a very high level, very intense. I usually do a simple, on a scale from 1 to 10, 10 being the most anxious stress you are, 1 being the least, where are you at? Most people are coming in at a 9 or a 10 still, even after the fires. They talk about constantly experiencing, dreaming about the fires at night. And what I do when they're coming in at the first time, I have to understand, what am I looking at? And I put it in a tier system, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. If you were someone who got a late evacuation, or you saw the fires coming, or you're evacuating in the Palisades area, you're evacuating in your car with tons of people, there's a bottleneck, but now they're telling you get out of your car and start walking to safety if you can. That's a tier 1. People that are experiencing that are finding that their executive functioning is impaired. They can't just, they start losing interest in things that they used to like to do. So Altadena. So I have a grandparent who's like, I used to love playing with my 6-year-old granddaughter, and now I just don't have the energy or the motivation to kind of play with her. I'm noticing I'm getting irritable, angry at my partner. We're fighting a lot. Teens are just checking out. They're just not motivated to do anything, not wanting to do physical activity, sports, things like that. So all of those things, when it starts impacting or affecting your daily functioning, then we need to find out, if I do 1 or 2 sessions with you, you should start feeling a little better. And these are somatic exercises. I do not just the talking. I do breathing, relaxation, visualization exercises. Most people come back the next time and say, I'm feeling better. If things are not changing, then I know it's more severe, and I'm maybe referring you to a doctor who can evaluate or say if medication management temporarily might be helpful. The only real quick thing I'll say about the medication piece is I was very against medication the first 10 years that I was in practice, but once I saw its effectiveness, when you're being treated correctly by a doctor who's trained in psychotropic medications, you do get relief pretty quickly, and the medicines we're using are safe. So maybe for 6 months to a year, you might have to be on something. And even very simply now, where you don't have to test a lot, they give you can take a DNA test, a swab, and they can do a DNA test to see which medications your body would metabolize or work best with, so you're not running all over the place trying to figure it out. But I do see what feels really good in my work. We're doing short-term crisis intervention. I'm applying the tier system. I'm differentiating between, is this CPTSD or PTSD? PTSD is, I saw the fires, I never had issues before, now I'm having nightmares. CPTSD is, I had all these other events prior to the fires, things have happened in my life that have been difficult, and the fires will open that door too. So prior to the fires, most people would have had maybe childhood adversity or other life experiences that were stressful, and you can ignore that, but once the fires happen, it's a Pandora's box. It opens up everything. So by session 3 now, so I start off with your fire origin story. I want to know, how did you get here? So I call it Beyond Therapy, now, before, and after. So the first time we're meeting, it's what's your origin story for the fire. Next, what's your origin story of where you come from, who are you? And then the after is, what do we need to do to support you, to help you based on where you are? So once we get that going, after that, the techniques that I'm teaching it's not that you need an expert or me to do this. The breathing relaxation materials, once you practice doing that, you will see that your nervous system on its own wants to come back down. Your body, your brain and your body, your spirit is saying, I just need you to pay attention to me right now. And wherever your attention goes, energy flows. So I believe from a somatic place, I did my training at the Embody Lab. What I believe, based even on the model that they use, the training platform, you don't need experts. In the classes that I were in with like 800 people from all over the world, we had massage therapists, Reiki practitioners, doctors, family members who had other family members who had chronic illnesses. So these are techniques and things anybody can learn. So hopefully in the mental health field, we're moving away from there's an expert who's going to teach or tell you how to do what you need to do to feel better, but teach you how to do what you need to do to feel better. So you're the expert over you. So
Amazing information. Thank you so much. Go ahead. Yeah. And before we move on, I want to just ask one more kind of two-part question. One, if you could speak just briefly on anything you've noticed related to the connection between contamination, these contamination concerns, right? It's really hard to go all of a sudden into a space that your environment is kind of like the enemy. My house became toxic, right? It was a really, really hard mental shift for me. And the land that we love, right? There's a lot of fear and just anxiety, I think, that gets kicked up. So I'm wondering if you have any just thoughts, wisdom that you can share related to contamination concerns in mental health. And then also if you could share what you know about like available resources. So one thing I know about is like the Altadena Healing Village. I didn't know about that for a long time, right? And it would be great if you have like any sort of next steps for folks as far as how they could access some of the things you talked about or other available resources.
Yes, absolutely. In relationship to the contamination and environmental factors, I'm lucky that I work within the county, individuals like at LAPDA who are dealing directly with these issues, and they're going on the front lines and advocating and fighting. So a quick story is FEMA did come in at the beginning and was okaying a lot of things, and the person who's in charge of construction and authorization for those things were like, nope, this doesn't seem right, brought in an outside agency who could do the retesting, and it was found that there was contamination and it needed to be taken care of. The level of resources also recently, we had to move some of our elderly population because they're starting remediation, and we're noticing the hardest part of that job when we went in where, they had to throw away a lot of their stuff and belongings they weren't allowed to take with them. And these are older folks who are really cherishing a lot of these things. And then the unknown, the uncertainty of it's going to take them a year to be out of their residence. They're going to they're not sure, a lot of them, not where they're going to be going or where they're going to be staying, and what is it going to look like coming back, and if they're going to be able to come back, because this is the community that they have. The thing I was able to do was to utilize, I took my outreach workers, because a lot of our outreach was done, and I started reassigning them to be case managers so that they go to do the nitty gritty of, we're going to help you move. We're going to help you pack. We're going to walk through this with you. Even for me, that the day of, there was a mix-up with the U-Haul trucks in the storage. So I ran around all morning making sure I could get that done, finding volunteers, finding drivers. So there's a lot of community work that has to go in and be involved. And we were talking about this earlier, the connections with persons in other agencies. EFC is really great for that. And the way I work is when I meet you, I give you my cell number, and that direct contact with knowing who to call so you're not having to deal or handle a 1-800 number is really important. And I keep for my own edification, I'm just constantly going to different agencies and finding out, what do you do? How do you serve? Who's in your population? And just keep growing and renewing those resources as it comes up. And what was your last question? I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're covering
just
access to resources.
Access to resources.
Yeah,
I would say, just real quick, if you haven't been to the Eaton Fire Collaboratory, that's a great place to start. It's like one-stop shopping. Yeah, that's what I would do.
Awesome. Thank you. I think it's fantastic just to even validate that there are unique sort of emotions that come up in that process, whether you are, a total loss survivor or a standing structure survivor. There's unique, just mental health challenges that come along with that. So thank you so much. We are going to turn it over next to our amazing speaker who is going to help walk us through some just thoughts around steps with financial pieces, right? So for me personally, this fire has been financially devastating. I know for so many people, financially devastating. And even thinking about soil remediation, it's something really hard when it feels so inaccessible. When insurance doesn't cover it, it feels like just one more thing that we've got to figure out. And so it's easy to go to that hopeless or overwhelmed space. And so would love to hear a little bit more about what we can do financially to help make sure that we're in good in a good place for peace of mind and safety. Thank you. Please.
On testing. Hi, I'm Gilda Brasch with Climate Facts, and I'm working in conjunction with USC with the Greif Center at Marshall School of Business. Thank you, Doctor. First of all, can you please lead us in a calming exercise because of that crackling fire right there?
Wow.
That's spitting off embers. I don't know.
Yeah, would you like to have a moment? Yeah.
Yeah, let's have a little moment. This is your expertise. Let's have a little moment.
Didn't even think, but I did, to be honest, when I was sitting, I saw an ash come by and I wondered and say, okay. But thank you for speaking out and thank you for saying something. So real quick, the only thing I think could be helpful is just recognizing that wherever you're going to put your attention to your thoughts and your body, that's where you're going to notice. And a lot of it is around not needing to change or fix anything, but just being present and acknowledging and validating what you're feeling in that moment. And then something that can be helpful afterwards is then to verbalize one word adjective to verbalize how you're feeling in that moment. So what we'll do is we're going to just do like maybe a 1 minute, a minute and a half, just a moment to sit in silence. There's no wrong or right way to do it. And then I'm just going to guide you through and talk you through some ideas and suggestions you can do. The way this works is that we call this trauma-informed work. So what that means is that I'm aware and conscious that you need to be able to have agency to do whatever you need to do that feels right for you to do that. One thing could be putting out the fire. Absolutely. Thank you.
To demonstrate biochar, but
No, thank you. So it means just do what feels right for you right now in this moment. If I make any suggestions, just do what your body is telling you it needs to do. So if you feel comfortable right now, you can take a choice to feel supported by the chair. Allow yourself to be in whatever position that feels right and comfortable for you. You can close your eyes. You can keep your eyes open. Just notice and be aware of your breathing at this moment. Notice the breath. Notice the inhale, the exhale. Notice the temperature in the air. Any sounds that are around us. The wind blowing. The leaves rustling. Voices in the distance in the background. Noises that are close or near. And again, just notice your breath. And then bring your awareness and attention to your body right now. Is it needing anything? Are you feeling hydrated? Are you hungry? Any thoughts, any emotions that might come in? Not to remove them, just to be aware of them. And notice that there's no difference between a positive or a negative emotion. All emotions are valid. Fear, anger, sadness, shame. And now visualize yourself being in a place that feels safe and secure for you. A person, thing, a place, or an event. If it's a place, it could be a beach or walking through the forest, by a lake, maybe driving in your car, flying in an airplane, being with loved ones. If it's a person, see their face, their smile, and just allow yourself to be in whatever place that feels safe and secure for you. And for 1 minute, I'm just going to let you sit in that silence and just be aware. And starting now, 1 minute. Thirty seconds. Ten seconds. And slowly, just again, allow yourself to be present in the chair. Feel your feet supported by the earth. Your lower back, your upper back. Bringing your awareness back to this space. Taking a moment just to open your eyes if you're ready. Acclimate to what's around you again, just looking around, noticing. And let's bring our attention to the more than human world. Look at the grass, the trees, the plants. Listen to the sounds of nature that are around us. The softness of the earth that's under our feet. The smells that are in the air, and just bring it in. Notice one thing. And bringing yourself back to this moment, into the conference.
Thank you,
Doctor.
Jeffrey. Gilda, take it away.
So, thank you for that. So I've developed what's basically TurboTax for your recovery. How many people here actually had a loss from the fires? Now, I did not personally, but I used to live in the Palisades, and my old apartment is burnt down. My bank burnt down. My safety deposit box didn't, and after several months, they gave me a plastic bag that smelled like smoke, and the stuff was in there. It was okay. But I imagined, oh my gosh, if I was in your position, what would I do? Because talk about PTSD, well, actually, I'm a former television producer and documentary director. Used to work for Oprah, actually worked for Nightline and was sent to forest fires. And then, of course, we had COVID, and then our industry super slowed down. So I'm the kind of person that kind of goes into PTSD over finances. I will not open those bills. They go in a box. So I can't, I just can't imagine what you all are going through with a very complex financial scenario. So I built Climate Facts, and you can take a flyer with a QR code to get a free 7-day demo. And after that, it's like $5 a month if you want to save your work. But basically, you'll input every parameter of your financial life, including your loss. So if you go on the platform, it'll start with, did you have a loss? Okay, how much did insurance pay you out? I was just running an example there. Like, say insurance paid you out $600,000. Your house was worth $1 million. You still have a $300,000 mortgage. You still have to pay insurance. You have to pay taxes. You may have an HOA fee. Then your contractors start to come in, and they give you their rebuild costs, price per square foot. Was just demoing it with Matthew over here, who is a builder, and it'll come out with what is your shortfall, because you're going to get calculated a burn rate. So if you're renting a temporary housing and your ALE right about now is probably expiring, you're hitting a liquidity gap. So this, a little TurboTax Climate Facts, will put in all of your input and then all of your costs. You'll also be able to put in if insurance, say, pays you out, in my example, $600,000. They're not going to pay you for probably your new sprinklers on your roof. They're not going to pay you for other hardening upgrades or redoing your landscaping. You'll put all those in, and it'll come up at the end. Are you in the red or are you in the green? Now, certain people, and absolutely we should build back better, but how many people can take the burn rate? Again, I'm from Marshall School of Business and I coded this platform myself. The burn rate is significant unless you have the resources to make up that liquidity gap. So we're just trying to say, user-friendly platform, take a breath, get all your financial stuff together, input it, save your work, go out and get some other contractor quotes, come back, put it in, and see what you end up at. Now, after that, we want to partner with every single person that's exhibiting here, the soil testing, the remediation. We're going to have links for all of everybody here so that you can link through and you can take advantage of all these resources from soil testing to mental health, and would love to have you all demo the platform.
Wow. Thank you, Gilda. That is incredible. I will tell you right now, before even inputting my numbers, I'm definitely in the red. And so how do you help, what advice do you have for people that are having to navigate these financial challenges? They end up in the red and or have to prioritize between these big decisions of the rebuilds or the remediation or living or, these are real life challenges folks are facing every month.
Absolutely. And definitely causes PTSD just for me to even think about it. And my heart goes out to all of you because I didn't suffer a loss in this. But, I almost bought a home in the Palisades. And it took me, 10 years of working to save for that down payment? Oh my God, if I had done that, I don't know, where I'd be. But so in terms of this just gives you the clarity. Like certain people also, if you can see, perhaps you don't want to rebuild. You don't want to keep going with this negative burn rate. Maybe you're going to take your payout. Maybe you're going to possibly sell your lot and decide, you know what, I'm going to go buy someplace else in a less, hazardous zone. Because as somebody said on the first panel, it's going to happen again. We don't know where, but it could happen again. So if you do decide to do that, we also let you know that there's certain tax advantages. You can keep your tax basis, and you can also not have to pay capital gains tax. So we just give you options, basically. It's a personal decision for everyone. I mean, for Greg, your lot is so amazing here. I can understand, definitely, if I had this lot, I would want to rebuild if I had the resources to do it, because this is a beautiful, idyllic setting. But every single person is different, so we give you that personalized snapshot and then the links to the resources like the law partners over here, the builders, the soil testing, hopefully it can all come together to just give you more financial clarity.
Amazing. Thank you so much. I think that the clarity, the awareness, that's where we start to have some empowerment and agency, right? When we can see the landscape in front of us and then pick our right path.
This is a beautiful, idyllic setting, but every single person is different, so we give you that personalized snapshot and then the links to the resources like the law partners over here, the builders, the soil testing, hopefully it can all come together to just give you more financial clarity.
Amazing. Thank you so much. I think that the clarity, the awareness, that's where we start to have some empowerment and agency, right? When we can see the landscape in front of us and then pick our right path. I'm going to turn it over to Christine now. So let's say we arrive at the place where we are wanting to move forward with some soil remediation. What would that look like? What are the steps to get started and to explore that possibility?
Okay, well, first things first, I would welcome everybody to pick up one of these flyers before you leave. It kind of is going to summarize what I'll share with you now. But I think moving forward before rebuild really is to know what's on your property. Because there is a kind of a liability. You've got some workers coming to your property. If it's not covered, if it's not protected, then they're exposed, right? Then there's the potential for that risk exposure. So first and foremost, get the ground covered. Okay, whether you do it yourself or you hire a professional to do it. We're out there, right? You've got the Center for Care, you have soil domains, you have community compound, you have ourselves. But hire a qualified, experienced, if you want to go down the certified route. Again, industrial hygienist is not what you want for soils testing. Our process, if I could just go into our process, we kind of chunk it out. We definitely want to establish some baseline conditions, so testing, of course, is very important. Let's get the testings done. Let's see the whole profile of CAM17, the hydrocarbons, and then we discuss if you want to go further with asbestos or VOCs or the PFAS and the others. We're able to turn that around for just the metals and the hydrocarbons within about 7 to 10 days. We can actually come back to you and sit with you. That likely you won't get from, free testing, right? You're going to be sitting around for a little while and then time's ticking. But with an entity like ours and the crew that we have, we're going to be responsive to you. You're fronting some money for this, right?
How much does it cost?
So on the phase 1, it's running about 1,500, 1,520-ish. And what we're adding to the mix is biological testing. So we are using a microscope. We are looking to see who's still living under the ground in your soil. And if they're not, we note it. So it's very data-based or data-driven to know the baseline. That's pretty much across the board because it just covers time, it covers the lab expenses, it covers just some of the overhead on all of that. Once we get the results back, we sit with you after 7 to 10 days and we walk you through your results. Every single analyte that comes up as detected, we're going to walk you through where that falls along the continuum of thresholds that exist from what public health has put out as far as guidance thresholds, whether you're hearing that your levels are safe, you want to ask, what level are you comparing that to? And we will share with you what the lowest regulatory published thresholds that we have found. And then you'll know where you are on that continuum. And then you can decide for yourself, whether that's an actionable level, like Harry has shared that term is actionable level, that you want to now take it to phase 2. Phase 2 is the treatment. Phase 2, we can mobilize within a week. We have all of our vendors in place. It's just a matter of phone call, get the materials covered. We have compost already being made, biologically diverse compost being made in Altadena from Altadena's own materials. We're in business partnerships with various restaurants in town and our local horse stable, as well as the tree trimming companies. So not only are they calling us for drops, but we are calling them to redirect all of this organic material to keep it in Altadena. After 2 weeks of that application, we're going to test again. We want that quick snapshot, of how the biology is doing that we reintroduced, and then if the chemistry, the chemical profile is actually ticking down. And if we're seeing that, then we're like, okay, let's keep doing what we're doing. And then we will add a native seed mix to the treatment as well, because that's the secondary step to the process. We've got to have healthy soil in the ground before we can support the plants that are to grow and then accumulate whatever metals that we want to extract. So we're coming at this from a 2-pronged process: sequester, mobilize, as well as extract. But then what happens after that? Then there's part of this phase 2 is extraction. but we have to manage that vegetation as well. And we have to test that material as well to track whether that metal has been transferred from below ground to above ground. So I'll have that data to share. In 3 months' time, we're going to test the soil again, and we're going to test the compost that we make from the vegetation that has been extracted. And then phase 3 is actually, this all can happen before build. This all can happen very closely to grading operations. There was a client that was very concerned about, their architect and their general contractor saying, no, you can't do it now. You have to wait until after build. Well, they didn't consult with the expert, on whether or not that was okay to do. We're okay with it being trampled on and mixed in and moved around, right? The biology is going to be in the mix, right? So as long as we keep it hydrated and as long as we are ensuring that the conditions are optimal for the biology to continue thriving and maintaining their presence, then fine, push it off to the side, continue with the grading. When you're done, bring it back over and let the biology continue. The seeds will be there to germinate down the road. So this is not a one size fits all. There's got to be a lot of communication that needs to happen between the general contractor, the architect, the landscape designer. Please don't wait to bring on your landscape designer until the end, because these landscape designers do need to know about this process as well. And again, as far ahead of the curve and of this process you have your soil experts participating in this, the better. Because now we're able to educate, right? We're able to bridge that knowledge gap around this new topic of soil microbiology and how it interfaces with the plants and interacts with the contaminants in the soil. And those costs from phase 2 can range anywhere from $35 to $9,500. Okay. It's not a one size fits all. It's also going to be very dependent on what your results show in phase 1. So we're not going to give you, a full blown, number, but we do know that it's probably 1/10 of what it would cost to mechanically remove the soil, right, off-site to create unintentional secondary impacts off-site in another community or in a toxic landfill, that can receive hazardous waste. We're just compounding the problem if we're dismissing it and we need to diffuse and dilute. We need to extract and manage properly and intentionally. So.
Amazing. Thank you so much for that detailed explanation. I want to mention a couple resources and some things that are in the works before we open it up to some questions. So I want to point out that Christine did a fabulous speaker event a few weeks ago with EFRU. So that recording is on the Eaton Fire Residents United website. We are also in the process right now of co-hosting a speaker event with Resilient Palisades and CARE through our Fire Resilient Bioremediation and Landscape Recovery Consortium. That's like maybe the first time I've ever gotten that right. So we are bringing that to you all very soon, an additional speaker event. One of the things I really, really admire about this soil bioremediation, this is a very much an emerging exploratory field right now. The applications of soil bioremediation in fire, as far as like fire recovery of soils, is an emerging field, and so there's so much to learn here. That's where, I would love to support folks in just monitoring all of that data over time. But given there's so many things to learn, there's also so many approaches out there, different flavors out there, right? And so one of the things that our Bioremediation Consortium is working on is trying to pull together a little bit of a landscape of all the soil stewards that are out there in the Palisades fire affected communities and the Eaton affected communities. And we're going to be meeting with those different soil soil stewards to figure out some of how to characterize their approaches so that folks have a good sense of like picking, knowing how to even engage in a consultation with a soil steward, right? What kinds of things do I want to ask? Like what's important to my family? And then, having a little bit of an understanding about the differences in the options that are out there. So we're excited to bring that to you very soon. I just respect everybody's work in this area, so thank you so much. I'm going to open it up to some questions right now. We'll go here and we'll do a circle. We'll boomerang across. So the 1, 2, 3 that had hands up, we'll go in that order.
Is this on? Yes.
Yes.
Christine, quick question. So I got water on site fairly soon. I was watering the resprouting plants, and of course there's always been a lot of weeds that are new to the yard. Some are native, some are obviously non-native. I kind of grapple with, do I cut the weeds down? Do I leave them because there's lots of, worms and stuff in the soil, and bees and whatnot are coming to these weeds, even if they're unwanted. And so but in the long term, I don't want them there. And so should I kind of keep them there now and then remove them later with the installation of the landscape?
So my take on that is the weeds very well could be taking up some metals, right, and then binding that in their tissue and their biomass. It's probably I've been advising recovering it, isolating it on site, and then composting that if you know how to compost, and then testing that compost afterwards. Okay. Because what you want to think about is still there's a lot of carbon in that material, and there's a lot of biology in that material.
Yeah.
And there may or may not be metals in that material. So testing. So if you are well versed in composting, that's great. Just isolate it, cut it, isolate it, manage it, test it. While you're building back, you still have some carbon in on your property. So now it's time to reintroduce the biology. So then if you can source some really good compost from us that's locally made from the local sources. You can create a biodrench, an extract. And if you like, we're going to be giving some away at the end of the driveway. So you can take a gallon home.
Amazing. Thank you. One of the things I really appreciate in the kind of testing that's done in the context of problem solving, right? So a lot of the free testing programs that are out there, they're just helping characterize the problem for our communities. And I think by this point, we kind of got a sense of the problem. And so I think now it's really important to shift towards solution-based testing, right? And so testing as a type of monitoring of planning, what are we going to do from here? And, making those deviations along the way based on the results that are continuing to come back. So I just want to point that out. Testing in the context of solution is where I really, really, really want to see our communities go. Next question. Thank you.
Okay, you guys are going to be blown away when I tell you this. This is more of a comment. Did anybody ever know Tim Dundon? Okay, Tim Dundon was a good friend of mine, and he had the largest compost pile probably in the United States, chic to chic. And anyway, he had a 30-foot compost pile because he was right across the street from the cemetery. And he would go get the horse manure, and he would mix it together. And when you walked on his property, it was like a spring, like a mattress. And that's the perfect scenario. So my thinking is to use his model is the best way we can, because that will detox everything we have here. And for him to come back to life right this moment. My brother did a video of him back in the 90s. It's on Weird America platform. And, of course, he was very weird. He called it kryptonite. And anyway, it's the most wonderful. He's also a poet. And he had things that he would talk about that gave you this incredible spirit of something that's going to be futuristic. He would dig a hole, and he says, let's go back to the 70s. And he would pick up this black gold, and it was just unbelievable. And there was earthworms everywhere. In fact, George, you know about Tim Dundon. Oh, yeah. Everyone here should know his model.
So,
do.
So was he sourcing it from, because the compost we're sourcing it from also the local horse stables.
Cool.
So we have a good working business-to-business relationship with them. And the goal is to, at some point, down the road, hopefully within this year, that all of the manure that's being generated down there will actually stay in Altadena.
Very cool.
That's my goal.
That's called a healthy relationship.
The relationship.
The ghost of Tim. he was the guru of doo-doo.
In a good way.
Yeah, look at this video.
I expect he probably was taking horse manure from local horse people.
Yeah.
He was taking it anywhere.
And his own manure, too.
Yeah. And I'm part of the equine community here in Altadena, so I used to board my horse up at Bob Williams Ranch off of Cheney Trail, just south of Nuccio's nursery. So there's a connection there. He's still alive, and I think there's still a few horses on his property, but he's ailing. So that generation is slowly, yeah.
Memories.
Yeah. But we are trying to keep that alive and that resource as top of mind, as a resource, not as a waste material for it to be hauled away.
Thank you. Please, yeah.
Oh, okay, this works. This question for Gilda. This morning, she was describing to me how her climate facts can do the calculations of should you rebuild or should you move and stuff like that, and I wonder about that also. And you mentioned something that I've wondered about, worried about, but it doesn't get much attention. The very real possibility that in the next very few years, we will pay a penalty as fear or awareness develops about these unknown toxic levels in the area. Right now, it does not get a lot of attention. It gets some mention in the news, but not very much. It's not hard to imagine that 2 years from now, there'll be sensationalistic news coverage of this ticking time bomb or something, and it'll be treated like the equivalent of an Indian burial ground or whatever you have in horror movies. Is there any sort of past experience that suggests that, what kind of punishment we would get in terms of deterioration in property values if we decide, I want to move 4 years from now, and oh gosh, I'm going to take a 20% hit?
Well, as we say on the platform, we can't totally predict the future property values. And the thing is, though, that these are all factors. Just like if you have a flood in your house and then you sell it and say even from a broken pipe and you had to cut 4 feet of drywall out and replace it, that goes with your house. When you list it, that's a disclosure. So there will be a disclosure that you had the soil remediated. And the buyer has to know that. Now I'm hoping, God willing, this is rebuilt to a beautiful, prosperous, affluent community filled with artists again. But we just don't know how long that will take. We don't know if buyers will be turned off by that disclosure or not. Same thing as with insurance. I mean, the money is going out. Pretty much, everybody's either on the FAIR plan now or you get an unadmitted insurer. I am not this wealthy, but I do manage a property in Beverly Hills. We just got the renewal for the property in Beverly Hills. I think it's estimated at around, again, not my property, around $7 million. The insurance renewal on that we got from the subsidiary of Allstate, $111,000 to insure that property, which isn't even in a burn zone. The burn zone ended about 2 miles from this property in Benedict Canyon. So these are all factors that, we cannot predict. We're just trying to help you with the here and now financial costs, but the future is just a big question mark for everyone. And Michael, you've been very involved in the Paradise fires, right? So you've seen this, right, Michael? Paradise is coming back, right?
Paradise is coming back, and you start to think about Paradise and Lahaina, and we're 8, 10, 11 years past. I wanted to address specifically, we're thinking about property value, but I want everyone to consider health value. And it's kind of the ugly elephant in the room. And I had an interview with Jane Patel, who was here earlier, who was in the burn scar, but her house wasn't affected. And she met with her insurance agent, who said, I don't want to divulge too much, but, we'll give you this much money, power wash it, wipe your windowsills. And after one day at her property, even though the house was standing, she couldn't breathe. She was already having extreme health impact. And I'm not saying this to be scary or doom and gloomy. I'm trying to be transparent with what I've seen. Now, if you look, unfortunately, a lot of science has been taken offline recently. The defunding of, different agencies. But this whole, again, the word radical self-responsibility. So I bring it up because Jane, once they said, we'll give you this much money, she talked to her neighbor at Jet Propulsion Labs, and they did some testing, and it was unconceivable the amount of contamination, even as a standing home, and they're now tracking homes in their area outside of the burn scar up to a half mile away. So, again, not to be scary about it, but I think people really have to think about property valuation, but also the value of your own health. I know there's a fast track right now for people to get back on their property and rebuild, but I want to emphasize that if you do some research about Paradise and Lahaina and you look at the health impact, even to this day, it's pretty severe. So I just say that as words of encouragement. There definitely is. We haven't looked at the website recently. It's hard to keep up with the shock and awe campaign of the current administration, and I say that not as a red or a blue person, but as a policy person. But please, definitely be aware of what's happening. Now, when she had her house remediation assessed, when she was offered, I think, $20,000, and they're like, just pocket the money, do it yourself, don't worry about it. It was kind of a payoff because the reality to do it right was closer to $100,000. So again, this is something people need to know that you can't find on the websites for the health department or this department or, anything that's being defunded, whether whoever you turn to. So I want to add that to the property value assessment of your health assessment. And they're finding in Paradise, even 7, 8, 9 years later, there's still huge contamination after FEMA scraped the topsoil. The difference there is that there was open pit mining from the gold mining legacy, which exposed a lot of that. So it's a different condition here, but luckily we have this amazing team of people. I mean, I've gotten to know Christine, I've gotten to know Jane and some of the other people, and like, holy smokes, this really is a collaboratory for humanity right now to bring out these solutions and bring this awareness to everyone. So I just want to acknowledge that.
What a great place to end it for this panel.
I just want to make one follow-up on that positive note. The talent and the brain trust here in this community and the awareness in the heart, if any place is going to figure it out, it's going to be here.
Yep. And the good news is it is a solvable problem, right? We have solutions for indoor contamination and we have solutions for outdoor contamination. I'm going to put a plug for Eaton Fire Residents United because we're tracking all of this and we've got resources for you and we are on it. So thank you so much for all of our panelists.